we are assembling the Sea Life slice cards. So I am going to start here with the back. These cards are a 5x7, and on the back piece we have these 3 pieces. Mine cut out incorrectly, but since it's the back, it doesn't matter that I have that little miscut. It should look like one of these. So you'll notice here on your base piece you have some grass, and you have these 2 spots here for the rock, and that will just help you line this up to where it goes on the base. Okay, so to start, I'm going to start with this piece of coral that is behind the rock. Now for my grass, I'm not going to glue that down. I'm going to leave it kind of floppy, just to give it a little more movement. Okay. Now the next thing I'm going to do with my base is I'm going to take these 3 pieces and I'm going to glue them into place. I feel like gluing these into place give your card a little more stability and holds it together a little bit better. And as you can see, as I get these into place, you can see why it doesn't matter so much that the bottom of my rock got messed up in the cut. It's almost completely covered by these, and you won't be able to see it beyond the piece that goes in front of this. So now I'm just going to lay this down, and I'm going to put this backing on, and this covers up the tabs I just glued down and gives me a nice surface for writing a message. Got a little bit of had a bad cut right there, so I'm just gonna trim that off. There we go. Okay, so I'm gonna glue this into place. That's one of the design elements I really like about my slice cards is that you have a lot of space for writing a message on the back if you want to take advantage of it. Oops. So that just cleans everything up. So this piece is done. And while it's drying and we're working on the others, I'm going to slide this under my mat because it's such a big piece and I just put glue across the whole back of it. So I want that to flatten up some. So I was just thinking I'm going to need it right away for this piece, but that's okay. So I'm just going to try to get some glue in here by avoiding these little tiny cutouts. I don't have quite enough contrast for me between my star and the background piece. I should have done those a little bit lighter or a little bit darker, I think. And then your little sand dollar is going to go on the front. Now, I'm not going to glue this on yet because this front is going to go on. We're going to put it on, then we're going to put the base on, and then I'm going to add the front piece. Okay, so I'm not going to glue those together yet because I've got my base under my mat. So let's just bring in one of our characters. And here we have our crab. Now I've mentioned this before with these slice cards, and the pieces that are towards the bottom, like this rock, you do not want to add dimension to because the slice will come up and it will go over this. So if you were to add foam tape to that, your slice piece wouldn't slide in. We can, however, add it to our crab. So I will do that in just a moment. I'm going to put this piece of coral on. And I'm just going to line up this bottom with the bottom of my boulder. Right now I'm just putting the eyes together. Now pull in my crab. Oops. And add his mouth. Okay, and him I'm going to use some foam tape on. So when I designed this series, I decided that I would make several different styles so that everybody would have a style. If you should have the style of card that you like. Oops. Oopsie. Okay. So here's all of the king's pieces. And I'm going to start with his boulder. And one thing I did not think about, he has white hair, so for the sake of my pictures, I need to ink the edges of his hair. Otherwise, his hair will just vanish in the background. So I'm going to use my blue. I like to use blue on white. I'm just going to hit these edges here. Now this ink pad is not very new, and there's not a whole lot of ink on it. So if you are using a newer pad, you'll want to be careful, even with a dauber, not to get too much ink. Okay, there we go. So now, because I want his body lifted, I'm going to put the foam tape here behind. King. Since I'm going to do that, I'm going to go ahead and put his crown on now. This is Poseidon. There we are. There we go. And I'm just going to add my foam dots here. Let me see. Yep. Just here. And I think I need to cut one to lift his tail. And then I use this one. It might be too big still. There. Then I'm going to put glue right here behind his head. Just going to line him up. Okay. Now let's put his face together. I think I want to add some dimension here to his head. There we are. And then give him his Triton. And I forgot to put his coral on. Let's see if I can slide this up in here. Just adds a little pop of color. There we go. So there is Poseidon. Now let's work on the seahorse. Okay. This time let's go ahead and put the coral on now so it doesn't get forgotten. Now this is the eye, and the circle did not cut very well, but it doesn't matter because I only need enough black to cover the eye. I'm going to pop him up with some foam tape. I want a small piece for his fin. So there is our seahorse. Okay, now let's pull in our mermaid. Start with her rock. And we're going to do her the same way that we did Poseidon. And we are going to put her hair on first, pop it up. This time though, I think I'm going to go ahead and put her face together. So when you're doing this, you just want this cutout to be where her mouth is. And then we're going to add a little bit of glue there. We're going to pop in her red lips. And I liked how his head pops up a little bit, so I'm going to do that with her as well. Now I did ink their cheeks to make them pink. I'm going to put her fin on before I put her top on. Let's put our coral on. So I'm just popping up the part that is below her hair. And there is our mermaid. And now we have a jellyfish. Now there are two tentacles, I think that's what you call them on a jellyfish, here, and these are for helping define that these are all separate tentacles that are coming down out of the fish. You don't have to use them, they're just an extra detail if you want them. If you do use them, put them on first so that they'll be under the jellyfish's head. And I'm just using an old black pad that has enough ink in it to color the edges. I don't need a whole lot of color. It's just enough to add some contrast. And see, this just helps the appearance of, and as I was looking at it when I was gluing these on, if you don't glue these all the way down, then they would have a little bit of movement on them, and that would be kind of cool, I think, for the jellyfish. It'd make it look like he had extra tentacles. That's what they're called. The tentacles are on an octopus. I don't know what they're called on a jellyfish. Let's see if I can get that ink off my finger, because I don't want to smudge. And I'm going to pop his head up, and then I'm also going to pop him. So there is all the different character options. And now I will pull this base out, and we will finish working on it. So here's our base. And remember, I told you I was going to wait on this to put the front on, because I want to pop it with some foam tape. So I'm going to do the same thing to this front that I did to the back, and I'm gluing the tabs down. Just making sure I've got it all the way in. I'm going to fold it the other way, just train my paper a little bit. And now I'm going to put this cover on. And now, because I have added this cover and already put my slices through, I can add dimension to this piece. Now, if you don't want to have this finished look on yours, if you want the slices to be showing, you cannot add dimension to this piece. So keep that in mind as you're deciding which way you want to do it. So there we go. There's that. And because we had this flattened, these pieces got just a little flattened as well. I'm just going to kind of bend them, add a little bit of dimension there, a little bit of movement. It is supposed to be under the water. And each one of your pieces will just slide right in. And there is your underwater scene. You've got a crab, Poseidon, a seahorse, and a mermaid. Thank you for joining me.